Events that humankind witnessed first and the last time. 1. Waterless Niagara Falls. Although normally flowing at a rate of about 567,800 liters per second, in 1969, the American Falls and the Bridal Veil Falls ran dry for several months. These are two of the three waterfalls that make up Niagara Falls, the Horseshoe Falls being the third one. Their drying was meant to accommodate the iconic landmark repair and preservation. Unsurprisingly, this has led to a growth in tourism. In only one weekend, 89,790 people were reported visiting. Some of them were also able to walk across the dry riverbed, prompting police reports that it was unsafe to do so. Ultimately, the work was complete and the oceans were liberated. Many were waiting for an immense crashing water surge, but instead, the waters were steadily released before the flow returned to normal. 2. A new trench in the ocean. We can assume there are few areas left uncharted on Earth, but on the ocean floor, there are notable exceptions. Our seas are home to some 30 deep-sea trenches, and we are only starting to discover their secrets as a species. One example is the New Hebrides Trench, an underwater gash of 7,200 meters, 23,600 ft, that sits about 1,600 kilometers, 1,000 mi, north of New Zealand, which was explored by an unmanned lander only once. The expedition at the end of 2013 discovered that not all deep-sea trenches are the same. In the New Hebrides, animals such as grenadiers, which are easily contained in other trenches, were entirely missing. 3. Moving to the ice giants in our solar system. The Voyager 2 spacecraft was the first man-made object to have ever gone to either Uranus or Neptune. Voyager 2 came within 81,400 kilometers after its flyby of Uranus. It was discovered that the atmosphere of Uranus was 85% hydrogen and 15% helium. Also, there was a boiling ocean 800 kilometers below the clouds of the Earth, that its magnetic field was curiously aligned to its equator, and that the planet had 10 more moons than previously thought, with only 5.5 hours to research the giant. Just as many surprises were created by its flyby of Neptune, such as the presence of the Great Dark Spot and active geysers on the moon of Neptune, Triton. Most of what we know about these planets is thanks to these unique visits. It would be safe to note that the sibling of Voyager 2 is no slouch. Voyager 1 is the first and only man-made spacecraft to enter outer space. This is where objects are not influenced by the sun's gravitational field and continuous material flow. It's in the vacuum between stars, in other words. 4. The Carrington Event. At 11:23 p.m. on September 1, 1859, the Carrington incident was a geomagnetic storm created by a major solar flare. Richard Carrington observed the flare which hit the Earth's magnetosphere the next morning, dazzling the pre-dawn skies with auroras seen as far south as Jamaica. In the light of these auroras, newspapers may be read. More alarming was the telegraph wires ignited and caught fire across the globe. They were able to transmit messages even when isolated from their power supplies because of the electrical currents generated by the incident. No one was conscious before the day that solar flares occurred. We now regularly observe solar flares, but because of a mixture of two factors, the Carrington incident was unique. It struck us and it was huge, the biggest solar flare to hit Earth in at least 500 years. That would cause an estimated $1 to $2 trillion in harm if a comparable incident occurred today. 5. A hurricane in the South Atlantic. In the North Atlantic, major storms are a fairly frequent phenomenon. They are with an average of 12 tropical storms and 6 hurricanes per season, but only 9 tropical storms have been recorded in the South Atlantic since 1974. The causes for this are a lack of pre-existing disturbances and a generally high degree of vertical wind, which interferes with the development of these strong storms. Still, one of the unusual tropical storms in the South Atlantic finally formed into a hurricane, Cyclone Katrina. In March 2004, it made landfall as a Category 1 hurricane, the only South Atlantic hurricane ever reported. This hurricane, named unofficially by Brazilian meteorologists, reached wind speeds of 85 miles per hour, damaged 36,000 homes, and erased at least 3 people.